Hey YouTube, this is Eddie, and today I'm going to be taking a look at probably the most spec'd out watch that you can buy for this price. I bought it at my local Costco. It was on clearance for $199.97, so that was a really good deal. And I've wanted one of these watches for a little bit now. Excited that I got one. I'll talk about all the features here momentarily. But if you can't replicate that deal at your local Costco or Sam's Club or wherever, a wholesale club, I did see it on gray market sites for about $250, and I would say it's worth it even for that price. I would have paid that price. For context, I was recently on vacation with my wife. Shout out hotel points and miles, because we would not have been able to go without those, certainly. But we went to Ireland. And by happenstance, we had to drive to an airport in Central Time. We're in Eastern Time, so we had to do a time change there. And then, of course, we went over to Ireland, and then we had to do a time change there. Had to keep switching my watch, and I did it. You know, look, it's totally a first world problem, but I really like the radio-controlled watches, and I wish I had this before my trip. I didn't, but I do now, and this thing is awesome. You know, if you've watched this channel before, welcome back. If you haven't, welcome. You know I love good packaging. If you've seen things before from this channel, from me. So the packaging here is very basic, and the MSRP on these models is pretty high. Like the cheapest one I could find before my trip that was radio-controlled was like $600, $550 on gray market sites, and I think Citizen has retail price for these in the $800 range. So I think if you're looking at a watch like that, the presentation's a little underwhelming here. We have the box sleeve, and then we have the box, which folds up. Didn't want to hit the camera lens there. And then in the box, you can see the plastic. I mean, it was really encased in a lot of plastic, and then there's a watch pillow, and then down here at the very bottom, I think it's the warranty information. Kind of hard to get out. It's pretty stuck in there. I had to get the band adjusted, which was actually really annoying, by the way. The band, I think it's one of those pin and collar type setups. At minimum, you have to use like the hammer tool to get them out. I like screws, easier to work with. Yeah, this is just product registration. And then talking about setting, it wants you to download the app. I didn't do that. I actually just looked up a PDF of the manual because there's a lot of functions here. And actually, for whatever reason, if you register your Citizen, they'll give you an extra year of warranty, I believe, or something. So, yeah, one additional year free right there if you register. So that's kind of nice. But, of course, if you get it on a gray market site or a non-authorized Citizen retailer, you might not get that there. So basic presentation, don't like that. But that's where my sort of my quibbles, my objections really end. Everything else about this watch is so awesome. It's so awesome. And it's awesome in a way that this watch, you'll see a video on this if you haven't already. This is a Filson watch. It was made about 10 years ago. I've been looking for one for years, was able to pick one up. I recently sold a bunch of watches. So I was able to replace them. I'm kind of trying to do a one watch in, one watch out kind of strategy. This watch I love, and I think it's really awesome because of its simplicity. I like the date window and how there's multiple dates there. I just like the look. This is a quartz watch, as you can see, tells the time. The dial is really nice on this. And so let me know what you're wearing, what's on your wrist in the comments down below. But I like this watch a lot for its simplicity. You put it on, it has a great aesthetic, a great vibe, coin edge, bezel, really good. This watch is good for a whole different host of reasons. You can see just by looking at the dial here, we've already got a much more complicated dial. And I don't know why. You'll see, you can actually see the camera there in the reflection. And then if I shine it toward the light, you can see my ring light there that's helping illuminate the space and the reflection on camera. But I'm actually looking at the watch, like in, not through the viewfinder. And yeah, it looks exactly like this. It doesn't look like this. It looks like this, even when it is shining right in the light. So the anti-glare coating, I think, is decent on here, if there even is one. I just think that that it's pretty good. We do have a flat, you can see, sapphire crystal. And we do have a lot of features. This dial is immediately much more complicated than the Filson watch I just showed, but also than most other watches that I have. Now, it's complicated for a reason. There's a lot going on here. I wanted one of these watches, like I said, to do all the time changes and stuff because it is radio controlled. I don't think the camera's going to focus too great right there, but it does say radio controlled right there. And then if we're looking at the rest of the watch, there's a lot of other features. It is a Citizen Eco Drive, so it does do power on its own. And then it actually has a via solar, and it does actually have a power reserve indicator. So if I hit this here, what that did is it told me, it's pointing up here to this OK. And so it's telling me that the last time it tried to get a radio signal to set the time, that it was able to do so successfully. And you can see now it's back to telling the time. But what it also does, and it's hard to see because the minute hand's right there, is there's a power reserve indicator. So you can see this little white, that means it's filled up all the way, and then further down to tell you it's not. And this is almost to that white range, it's just below that. So that's really cool, right? If you want that in an automatic watch, that's going to cost you. And there aren't really any automatic radio controlled watches. It sort of defeat the purpose because, right, this will move the thing on its own. So that's really cool because it's synced to atomic time. So I would imagine this is the most accurate watch in my collection just because it's able to get that time in a way that is really reliable. And it's also able to do that on its own, or you can manually sync it, for example, when you arrive in a new destination. I do really like the blue color on this. I've worn it a lot because it seems to go with a lot of different things. There's a ton of different Citizen radio-controlled watch dials. There's a really cool moon phase one with like a moon in the background. That's really cool, but those are much more money. This one, again, awesome for the features of the radio control. It's also, again, I think it looks really striking. I didn't know how I was going to feel about the black bezel for the tachometer with the blue dial, but I do think it goes very well with that. And then it has a lot of different modes. So I can switch here. I can pull the crown out. And so what did that do? Put the second hand right here. And I can change this pretty immediately. I can change it to alarm and set an alarm. I can change it to CHR, which is chronograph. So I'll show you how that works. The second hand immediately goes up to the top. And then now you can see the second hand is not ticking around like it would and like it just did. It's now in chronograph mode. So if I press this button, now it's counting the seconds, but it's not counting, the seconds to mark the passage of time. It's counting the seconds, since I pressed the button. So that can be used, of course, to measure speed. It can also just be used for a timer, and then you can observe how long has passed in this dial right here. It'll just go around and do up to 60 minutes with this here. And so you can see it's almost at the bottom. Let me pause that. So I'll pause that. And then if I hit this button, it'll spin back around. It doesn't have the snap motion that a Mecha Quartz or a automatic would have. But it has that function, and then I can switch it again to an alarm mode. I can switch it to set different times. So if I go to set, I'll go to set here, and then what I'll do then is pull the crown out to the third position, and then it's now in London time, I believe, maybe. Oh no, I'm moving the second hand. If I go into, I think it's position 2, or position 1 rather. Maybe I have to go into time for this. I haven't learned, of course, everything about the watch. There's just so many functions. So if I go into time, yeah, so that's what it is. So if I go into time there and then pull the crown out, it goes to the bottom like we saw, but now it's pointing at my time zone, which is, it's small but easy to read, at least for me. When it's on my wrist, it's in NYC because I'm in Eastern time. But if I want to switch this to another time zone just to see what the time is there, yes, it doesn't have the radio syncing for that zone yet, but I can just see what time it is. So it almost functions like a GMT also. So that's really cool. So let's take a look at that. We can go to we'll go down here to LAX. So if I go to point the second hand right here, that's the LAX time zone, you can see that the watch is switching. And this is the coolest feature of the watch, bar none, is the capability that it has to both radio sync your current time zone, like I talked about, but also have the ability to radio sync when you get somewhere else, but you can just see what the time is there. So in Eastern time right now, it's about 1:10, maybe 1:09, and you can see here I went to LA and there it's 10:10. So that makes sense, right? 3 hours behind for Pacific time. And what's really cool, there is this date window here. And I haven't found a way to change the date. I'm not sure if you can. But if you change to a time zone that's far ahead, so it might be the next day there, or really, really early, it might be the previous day still, it will change the date window based on that time zone, which is really cool. So I'll do this another one. So let's switch over to SYD. I think that's Sydney. So you can see as I switched it, it already started moving. And so now it's going to move all the way back to the time in Sydney. And of course, the longer it has to go back or forward, the longer it's going to take to, of course, complete the operation. But that's really the killer feature. It's radio controlled. And this is still, I still think this is not a very popular complication, not a very popular thing that people know about. I have a friend who's really into watches, a couple friends who are pretty into watches. You know, your Christopher Wards, some of your micro brands, your Casios, your Orients, your Seikos, those types of things, nothing too crazy. And some of those guys, at least one of them, didn't know about the radio control. I'm like, oh, it's a radio-controlled Citizen. And he was like, I don't even know what that is. And so pretty crazy, pretty crazy. You can see there that they switched. And so it looks like it's, about 9 in the evening there on the 15th. So just really, really, really cool. I love it. I love it a bunch. The only thing that might prevent me from giving a full-hearted recommendation, I would recommend this to anyone who's just looking for a good watch. I just think that it's a pretty good all-rounder. You know, it does have some more aggressive styling. So, you know, it's not a dress watch. It's not a field watch. It's not, you know, it's not svelte by any stretch of the imagination. This watch is pretty big, and it has some presence to it, certainly. So let's get out the digital calipers here and do some measurements, because again, this is a big watch. So let's do across, including the crown. So if we take the measurement across and we include the crown in that measurement, it's 47 mil at this point, 47.98, so I'd call that 48 mil. If we don't include the crown, let's go to a different point of the watch. Here we're at 46 mil. And so again, it's not a small watch, and it does have some heft to it, significantly more than something like the Filson here. You can see just how much smaller it is. The whole Filson case fits, you know, within the Citizen case here. And this is in a particularly small watch. For reference comparison, I mean, it's not big, certainly, but for reference comparison, the Filson's 41, including the crown. And then if we don't include the crown, it's 37.9, so 38 mil. So 38 mil, that's a pretty good watch size, right? It's not 36 mil. 38 mil is pretty good for most people. And so this one, right, we're talking about being quite different. Let's measure the thickness too of this. So here we've got 12.85 millimeter thick. So right, it's not the thinnest watch in any sense. It's not the smallest watch. Something that I also thought was good, I know I dinged the band, or rather the bracelet, because I don't like the mechanism in which you have to adjust it. But I do like the way it feels on the wrist. I'm not a bracelet guy for the most part. The only other bracelet watch I wear regularly is my Cincinnatus Field. But look, there you can see it on my wrist. I haven't measured my wrist in a while. I think it's about 6.25, 6.5 inch wrist. So it's not, I don't have a big wrist by any means. But I think it wears smaller than it is. Yes, I feel the presence of the watch, right? I have dress watches and other things that are just a lot thinner. I'll show you the back of one, actually. So we can see here, this is a dress watch, right, with a quartz movement. And you can just see just how much thinner, you know, you can get some watches, right? I mean, there's just really no competition there. But you're not buying it for that reason. That's not why I bought the watch. I didn't buy a watch because I wanted a thin dress watch or a thin, you know, whatever watch. I wanted a feature-packed watch, and I don't know that you can get the amount of features you can get with this Citizen or similar Citizens for, you know, the $200 to $400 price range. So if you're after maxed out features, you know, really cool things, yes, the switching times is a party trick, but it's actually valuable to me. I work with people mostly in Pacific time, sometimes in Mountain time. I know Arizona doesn't observe daylight savings time. There is a daylight savings function you can turn on and off here. It does have a perpetual calendar. I haven't set that up yet, That doesn't need to be adjusted. I looked in the manual until 2100. So if you're looking for a quartz SPEC Monster that you don't have to worry about because it charges itself, you don't have to change the battery, you don't have to wind the watch, don't have to synchronize, don't need a watch winder. If you're looking for that, this, I don't know what other watch you would buy, quite frankly. This is a SPEC Monster. It's a beast. It's built, I think, really well. You know, sapphire crystal, free rotating crown, so it's not a screw down crown. And I don't think the water resistance is particularly high. So then I guess that would be another point, or another reason perhaps you wouldn't buy this watch. I'm looking on the back here to see if it has water resistance. I'm not able to find any. Yeah, it just says don't open this unless, you know, you're a Citizen Repair Center. Oh, 20 bar. Oh, dang. Okay, so this, you can swim with this thing too. So it has 20 bar water resistance. SPEC Monster. That's all. That's the summary of this review. This watch is killer. This watch is incredible. It's already looming as one of my favorites in the collection. The only thing that makes me wear it less, again, if I'm looking for a watch with a different vibe, but also, again, the presence, it is there, right? So if you don't want to feel that heft on your wrist, you know, it's not something you'd wear off often. Of course, if you did put a strap on it instead of the bracelet, that would lighten the load a little bit. But this watch is incredible for the price. It's built super well. Yeah, I don't know. I can't wax poetically enough about this watch. For the price point, you know, would I pay $800 for one of these? I wouldn't. I wouldn't do that. And you could probably make an argument to say, hey, it might be worth that if it's a special edition or something, limited edition, because it has all those features and it's built really well. But I think part of the allure of this is just the bargain at which you get all those features. So what would I have paid for this? I'd say up to $400. You know, when I was seeing some in the $550 range, I just was like, no, I don't, even though I sold some watches and some other stuff lying around the house that I haven't used, like a VR headset, those types of things, just stuff collecting dust. I just didn't want to blow most of it or all of it on a watch. And to get these features again for $200 at Costco with their ironclad return policy is good. But even if you can get it on the gray market, anywhere under $400, I think you're talking about a really good watch. I do think you can get better bracelets once you start clearing $400, but you really can't get better features. So let me know what you think about this in the comments section. Again, I think this is just an incredible watch, and it's often overlooked by collectors because, you know, we're after the heritage, the horology oftentimes. We're after the you know, the history of maybe that particular model or how the brand got there. I mean, that's the allure. I've wanted a Bulova lunar pilot for quite a while because it sort of by happenstance ended up in space. And so that's cool, right? So people buy watches, I think a lot of times for those reasons, myself included. I love a good story behind a micro brand, behind a watch design, behind a, you know, a model. And you just don't have that with the Citizen EcoDrive radio controlled. But what you do have is a ton of functionality. So if you're after function, there's no better place to go in my mind. Let me know what you think about this one, and I will see you in the next video.